Hi everyone, welcome back to Football-Oranje, your home of Dutch football in English language. I'm Michael Statham, I'm joined by Abdul and Mike, and we're going to do a full Eredivisie season preview podcast for the 2025-26 season. We cannot wait. We cannot wait to talk about every single team in the league. We're expecting this to be a bumper-sized podcast for you to enjoy. Now, if you're looking at us now on YouTube, you can watch our podcast. We're going to have visuals on screen. We're going to have our table predictions up. Transfers of the club's ins and outs. So do go and check us out on YouTube if you haven't already, so you can see us and you can see what we're talking about. But of course, we are also available on audio platforms such as Apple Podcasts and many other ways of listening. So, Abdul, Mike, we're looking forward to a new season of Dutch football. And we have many things to discuss, including the usual top three, PSV Feyenoord Ajax, which people will know very well. If you are new, of course, to Dutch football, maybe you're checking us out for the very first time. We do have a YouTube channel. We have a website. We have a Twitter page. Come and check us out on those platforms so you can keep up to date throughout the season. We will be talking about the traditional top three, some of the other clubs too, but also some of the lesser known stories where we will enlighten you about some of the clubs you may not have heard of before, such as Telstar, who were promoted to the Eredivisie for the first time in a long time. So we should start with PSV, I think, the champions of the Netherlands. PSV have had a busy summer of incomings and outgoings. So, Mike, would you like to introduce PSV and sort of like your previews, expectations for them this season?
Yeah, I think it's been a busy summer for them. I think after winning the league last year, second year in a row, I think that, I don't think it went as expected for them last season, winning it after Ajax threw it away. But I think overall for the season, they were the strongest team in the league. And that was still with having some players out for a long time. It's going to be strange this year not having Luc de Jong up front for them. He's now gone. A Porto player. Noah Lang's gone. Bakayoko's gone. Tillman's gone, the star player.
Yeah.
But I think they've signed well, and I think there's more signings to come as well. So, yeah, if I was a PSV fan, I'd still be excited about the season under probably the best coach now that there is in the Eredivisie, and with Ricardo Pepi back as well. So I think that him coming back, along with the signings of like Van Bommel and Play up front, it's exciting times. And I think they've still got to add maybe another winger to the squad and maybe a couple of fullbacks, and then I think they'll be raring to go again. And can you really see past them to being favourites? I do think it's going to be closer this year between the top three, but I think the PSV still edges it for me.
Yeah, I can't wait to see this title race team. PSV Feyenoord Ajax, maybe a surprise outside of those top three, but I think it will be between those top three this season. And some of the signings here could be very exciting if they live up to their potential, such as Van Bommel, who has his reputation. Does he have a reputation because of his father's name? Is it because he's a very good player? I think we'll find out this season. I do like Player, who's the new striker for them. Him and Ricardo Pepi, I think, are going to be very competitive for who starts games as the main striker. And they've just kind of got players two per position. They're still looking for a few more names to add. Obviously, you said about some of the outgoings there, Mike. They've only had 4 players of the starting lineup last season in the Dutch Super Cup played this season's Dutch Super Cup because of a number of key players that left. But do you know what? Noah Lang was a little inconsistent at times. Luc de Jong is aging. Tillman was fantastic. They are definitely going to miss him. But I just think with some of these new guys coming in that they can do well, can replace them, and they're going to be really attacking again to Peter Bosch. I think they're going to go lots of goals. Abdul, what do you think about them?
Well, I can tell you what I think of the whole team. Although they sold some players, but they got some names. Not to mention some younger players actually proved themselves in the Euros, like Land, for example. He was a very special player. Maybe PSV will depend on him also this season, although Boss is not really known for depending on younger players. But I think Land was spectacular, so he might actually depend on him. We saw the match yesterday. PSV won. It wasn't a comfortable win. But again, it's the first match of the season, so it's very difficult to make a judgment now on the team. But the signings they have, like Ruben van Bommel and some other players, of course, depending on Pepe now. We've been talking about Luke de Jong last season, that he's not really been doing much for PSV. He's aging now. I think they figured that out also. So they sold him, or they let him go, and now they are depending on Pepe, and I think he will make the difference. The team looks very strong, in my opinion. They will definitely compete for the title this season. The signings they have made are impressive so far, as you mentioned and as Mike mentioned.
And I was just putting on screen there the transfers that are coming in and out of each club. There are some Dutch language there, but it's pretty easy to see which players have come in and which ones have left. We'll keep putting those up for the other teams as well in the league. So again, if you're listening on an audio, maybe switch over to YouTube so you can see those visuals are put on screen too. A little later on, we'll share our top sixes and then our full table predictions for the Eredivisie. So stick around for those too. But PSV are perhaps in all three of our minds big contenders for the Eredivisie title. We can share in a minute who we think will be the champions coming up a little later. So that's PSV. And yeah, like I say, a busy summer. A big thing for me is Peter Bosz staying, though, who has had a couple of years now at the club. One of the longest serving managers in the Eredivisie, unbelievably, only like 2 years. But I think that will make a big difference with Feyenoord and Ajax changing head coaches very recently. And maybe that their attacking football is just enough to blow enough teams away. But Tillman is a big loss because last season, when he was in the team, PSV won quite a lot of the time. The win percentage was incredible with him in the side and was pretty bad with him out of it. They were rough around the edges in that win against Go Ahead Eagles. But I think it's a team that will grow throughout the season and do well in the Eredivisie and probably get some wins as well in the Champions League. So, yeah, that's PSV anyway. And we can definitely talk about them in a little bit when we see our predictions. Should we move on to Ajax? Either everyone's favourite Dutch club or their least favourite Dutch club. You're one or the other, I think, with Ajax. And it will be to the joy of many Dutch football fans that maybe Ajax have been struggling recent years, but had a great season last season. But then, to the joy of many Dutch football fans, threw away the title with only 5 games to go, losing a 9-point lead to lose to eventual champions PSV, of course. Ajax are back to a bit of cost cutting. They have to sell before they can buy. Johnny Heiting has come in, new manager. I think that will be a conversation topic for us in a minute, guys, talking about him. But also down in the comments, let us know what you're thinking about any of the clubs talking about on this show. But Heiting back at Ajax is a big talking point. Is he a good manager? Is he good enough for this level? He has got some support as well with his backroom team. But I do wonder, going on from Farioli, he's trying to change the football to a more attacking type. But Farioli was very defensive. It was very pragmatic football. How quickly will this change? Is it going to be a successful move? I've definitely got some thoughts in their pre-season, but I would love to hear what you guys think first. What do you make of the summer, Abdul? And whilst you're saying that, I'll put their transfers up on screen too.
Well, Ajax is a mystery. It's probably the most mysterious team in the top 3. We know how PSV or where PSV is going. We've seen the signings. We've seen the same with Feyenoord. We will talk about Feyenoord later. But once we speak about Ajax, last season they were eliminated from Europe in a very bad way, letting or selling the match actually by not depending on the main players. Many people blamed Farioli for that. We thought the team will be focused on winning the league only. Although Farioli denied this, he said no, he was paying all the attention also for the European competition. But we saw the lineup, the match they were eliminated. When it comes to the league, I wouldn't really call it a successful season. They were so close to win the league. Many people were betting that Ajax is definitely gonna win. There is no way they will lose 9 or 10 points in the last 5 matches. But miraculously, this is exactly what happened. They lost many points and they gave the title away in a very strange way. Many people expected Farioli to stay, but suddenly he decided to leave. And then they brought Heiting back. I know Heiting, he did coach Ajax for some time. He was a temporal coach. I think he did okay, considering the circumstances by then. I think he did okay. He's the son of Ajax, so maybe he can bring something good for the team. Maybe he can make something good out of the squad. But still, so many players need to be sold. We still don't know where the team is going. I read today that Akpom might be leaving. To be honest, I really hope so. I don't think he meets Ajax standards. Some they need to ditch at least 5 or 6 players, but I don't know if this is going to be the case. But if we look at the squad right now, it's very difficult for the team to compete for the title, in my opinion. They could win the 3rd place. I don't think they will be 1st or 2nd with this kind of players.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that it's been a rather disappointing summer so far from them in terms of signings. I think, Morrow and Gluck, they're 2 exciting signings, they're 2 good ones, but this team needs about 4 or 5 more to add something. They need to get rid of, at least another 4 or 5 that's in that squad, because they're just not good enough. I mean, you're still hanging on to players like Van den Boomen, who we've seen nothing from. And there's so many aging players in there, they're still relying on Berghuis, class, and there's talk again of Daley Blind coming back. I mean, this is Ajax at the moment. They seem like constantly indebted to the same players that they always need to bring back, who never really progress into be the top dogs. There's time a few years ago when they're talking about Ajax being, the Bayern Munich of the Eredivisie and like just winning it year after year after year. And the club's just going backwards. I think that the coach is, for me, a step back in Heitinga. And then, the squad's just not been overhauled enough. And up front, I've got big reservations about the fact that they're going to be relying on Weghorst, who I think out of the 2 is probably the best quality striker, and then another year of Brian Brobby. I mean, if you have another year like they did last year, then it's only going to get worse. I still have them finishing top 3, but unless they, get 3-4 more players in and ship some out, then, it's possible that they could be in a battle for 4th or 5th. That's how much I'm disappointed by this team. Even in pre-season, they announced lineups for games, and I'm looking at the squad and I'm like, is there any players that actually excite me and make me want to watch this team? And there's one, probably Mokio, the little young Belgian midfielder, and that's about it. And they've even sold off their best young player in Hato, who's ditched the club to sign for Chelsea and be 2nd choice. So if that shows you where Ajax are at the moment, where young players aren't willing to stay until they're 22, 23 anymore. They want out and they want to go somewhere where they'll be 2nd choice, because at the moment, I just don't see where this Ajax side is going.
And really difficult with the Champions League coming too, that they have that competition back. But what are they going to be able to achieve in that competition? I do think a lot of it comes down to Johnny Heitinga. We saw last season Farioli get every single last bit of juice out of that team that nearly won the league, that they have got that ability with a really good head coach. I'm not sure about Heitinga, though. I was more positive about him at the beginning of pre-season, but then I know you shouldn't judge the results in pre-season, but our 3-0 loss to Como is not a great result in pre-season, is it? They won well against Celtic, but he was playing like Edvardsen, a winger, a right back, and you're thinking, this is the time to do that kind of experimentation, but this is not the player to be doing that with. It's not, like, why? He's not a right back. You've got lots of defenders you could put there instead. So that kind of odd decision making is not a promising signal to me. But I think the signings are being good. Raul Moro could be good in the wing. Gluck he was probably one of the best players in Austria. He's going to come in and he's going to create lots of chances, good dribbler, get assists and goals, I'm sure, playing in the 10 position. But yeah, I agree with you two with that the squad isn't up to much there. If you're going to rely on Weghorst and Robbie after last season, then you're not going to score enough goals from their strikers. You need players for chipping in. And last season there were a lot of 1-0 wins, scrapes, and that was because they were defensively resolute. Heiting is trying to make more attacking football. The players have been saying that it's been changed and it's like last season, but with more attacking. But I can't see them being as defensively secure if that's the case. I don't think Hato is a massive miss, but I do think that they need an extra defender or two to bolster that strength in that area. Sutelo's good, but he could still leave. Yeah, still a lot of question marks here, and I agree with you too. There's doubts there.
I believe, as you said, the team needs at least 4 players, and to ditch at least 4 players.
But they have to ditch them before they can sign the new ones.
Exactly. I cannot see Vindal being a sub in the Champions League, for example. With all respect to Vindal or Akpom or even the players Ajax renewed their contract, like Klaassen or Berghaus. These are not Champions League quality players. They might do well in the league, but I think they will be a big failure in the Champions League. So I really hope they move quickly. We only have like a month before the Champions League starts, so I really hope they move quickly. I'm looking at the squad now. Nothing is impressive, really.
Yeah. And if you look at Ajax, you're thinking of, who's going to come through, who's going to be the wonder kids at Ajax. And there's Mokio, there's Benita, and probably Sean Stur. But then other than that, especially in attacking place areas, there's not really anyone that's going to come in and challenge Brobbey and Weghorst from the reserves to really push on and be that young Ajax striker. But yeah, I think if you're looking at PSV and what we're going to talk about next with Feyenoord, I think that those two squads have a lot more balance and a lot more strength than Ajax. And I think, there's big problems there that they seem to rely on, that Ajax blood, and, you always need to bring players back. That's why they went and got Regier against Fariolis, which is in January. It's why they're constantly linked with bringing Daley Blind back, why they brought David Klaassen back. There seems to be maybe it's a boardroom level. They just can't get over the fact that they need to bring these Ajax people back constantly, whereas they should be looking for fresh talents from abroad to try and breathe some new life in there, or even just go and do what Celtic and Rangers have done for years in Scotland and sign the best players in the Eredivisie. Go pinch the best players from around them. They should be knocking on AZ's door and being like, "You're going to sell us Van Bommel," but PSV are doing it, and Feyenoord are doing it, not Ajax.
That spending powers that seem to be at that club at the moment still. The Champions League will help with it, but if they have a terrible Champions League campaign, it's almost pointless being in it in the first place. They won't get the money from it. Yeah, much more we can still discuss about Ajax. Of course, we'll be talking about the Dutch clubs throughout the campaign, no doubt. And I'm sure when we talk about our top 6 predictions, we can talk about them again. But I think it's time to move on to Feyenoord, third member of a traditional top 3, who finished third last season. They have been busy in the transfer market. And if I put their chances up on screen, I can't actually fit them all in with what they've been up to. There are obviously a few loan players that have come back there, but if I just scroll down, Borges has come in from Porto, a really fast winger. Not many goals and assists to his game, to be honest, at the moment, but that's something he's hoping to change under Van Persie. Jordan Boss, a left back's come in for Belgium. Diarra's a winger that's coming from the Turkish second division, but there's a lot of excitement around him. Leo Sauer's come back from his loan at Nat Breda. I think he could have a good campaign. He could be a breakout player. Sem Stein, guaranteed goals, right? Coming from Twente, attacking midfield. Kasper Tegenstedt, he scored goals over in Norway. Sorry, was it Norway? Denmark, definitely. He's gone to Benfica. It hasn't quite worked out with goals there, but he's come to final. Can he have an impact? Luciano Valenta's coming for a big fee from FC Groningen. Watambe is a new centre-back. He's also come from Belgium, Japanese centre-back. Some good signings there. Impressive, actually. But they've obviously made money from all of these outgoings you can see on screen. They got some fees for Van der Belt, Benita. So it's all like accruing all these 1s and 2s millions, and also the big players, Hansko, Hartman, Malambo going. So they've made some money that they've then bought other good players in. Peixao, big, thank you. That's a big one too. Are they going to miss these big players is a big question here. They've taken off their 2 best players and replaced them with some good players if they hit off. And for me, a big question is if Van Persie can get the best out of them. They are absolutely a title contender and could be the favourites for that. But there's a reason why the odds don't have them as a favourites. And for me, that is just the unknown of the Van Persie factor. How good a head coach is he? So I'll open the floor to you two now to convince me whether he is or not a good manager.
Last season he was the manager for part of the season. It wasn't a long period, but we saw some good quality. Some games, Feyenoord was missing so many players But with Van Persie, the team played well. I remember with Inter Milan, the team was missing at least 10 players. But Feyenoord was very good, actually, at that match. And they barely lost to Inter Milan. It was, I think, 2-1 and 2-0. They tried very hard. They were very good contenders in these two matches. I don't think, or I hope, Van Persie continues this good work. The team defeated Wolfsburg 4-0 in the previous friendly, and I think this is a very good result against a team like Wolfsburg. I believe Feyenoord has the best midfield in the Eredivisie, and they have a good midfield that can actually do something in the Champions League. So much quality in the midfield. So many players. You don't even know who should be a starter. You have Valente, you have Stein, you have Huang, you have Quentin Timber. So many players, and of course, as you mentioned, they've been very busy in the market. They got Borgs, they got Diarra, some good names. I believe the team will be at the best level this season. I will be surprised if I see them underperforming for any reason. I'm expecting a lot from Feyenoord this season, really.
Yeah, I think if one team is really going to run PSV course, it's going to be Feyenoord. I know the question marks are about Van Persie, but at least he's been backed in terms of transfers from that money that they've accrued, and I think that they might even sign some more. I think the wings are exciting. Haj Musa, I think, is a great player, and the fact that they managed to sign him to a new contract, especially with Paxal going, is huge. And I'm a huge fan of Valente. When he was running in the last season for the under-21s, I was championing him to be part of the squad. He eventually was. He scored a couple of goals at the tournament. I'm really excited to see what he can do, and I just hope that he isn't held back by the fact that they also got Stein for that 10 position. And the fact that they've still got Timber in there might be due to his injuries this season, but it's great to see him there. And I think we're talking about one of the best young players in, possibly you could say, the Eredivisie, but probably one of the best young players in his position in the whole world, in Javier Reid. I think that he's going to kick on this season. One of the best right backs in the Eredivisie, even at his age now. I think this will be his last season in the Eredivisie. I think he will go next summer because I think he's destined for greatness and he'll go for a big club next summer. But yeah, I think Feyenoord have all the makings of a title challenge. The only doubt for me is up front. If Ueda doesn't score the goals, then you're relying on Carranza or a third choice from Benfica. If that doesn't work out, then that's the only issue for me. But all the rest of the pitch, they look great. Great midfield, strong defence, two really good goalkeepers going against each other in Bio and Vellenreuter. And yeah, the only question mark for me is up front.
Great summary. This is why it's helpful having the three of us on this show. Like, we've all covered different bits about each club so far, and I think Feyenoord have the players to win the league, but I just think that Bosch playing attacking football with PSV. I mean, I'm kind of revealing already who I think will be the champions. I think that just gives them the edge over Feyenoord. But equally, I can see why Abdul thinks that Feyenoord might well be the favourites to win the league because of the things he said. So that's what could actually make this a really exciting Eredivisie season, that we might be convinced who we think will win the league, but we could be totally wrong. Ajax could do it. Maybe somebody else out of the top three could do it. But there's not like a really clear, obvious choice here. And thinking back to last season, weren't we all convinced it was going to be PSV?
Yeah.
So, and in the end, actually, that was a very tight race. So I think there's a lot to like about this season's Eredivisie. If you are a new Dutch football fan coming into this, then absolutely worth sticking around to watch it. Check out our podcasts and talk about it with us. That's the top three then. Let's talk about some of the teams. Let's talk about some of the teams that were in the top six last season. Next, AZ Alkmaar. The team that people like to try and include within the top four within the Eredivisie. AZ want to try and be part of that, trying to gate crash it as much as they can. Now, we talk a lot about AZ Alkmaar's younger players on this show, so we don't want to go through everything all about them again, but they have got Max Meerdink, who is a potential Netherlands international if he can score lots of goals for AZ, up against Troy Parrott, who scored plenty of goals last season. We can't underestimate his impact on the team, as much criticism he can get sometimes. Wouter Huss, the walk-in yellow and red cards, but a good defender, and just gives Arsenal a bit of attitude. Don't mind it sometimes. Case Smith, got to be one of the talents in the Eredivisie up there with Reed. Loved seeing him in the 19s. I'm sure we can talk about him again in a minute. But like I said, anyway, we talked about these talents a lot. And Arsenal are full of them. I had like 5 in their most recent lineup, whether they were from their own academy. But Martin Martins, the manager, I don't know at times. I don't know. And I said this about Feyenoord, I'm not sure. Ajax, I'm not sure. AZ, I'm also not sure. That's why I'm more convinced on PSV at times, because Martins, I watch him in interviews and I just can't cut him out. If he's like the way he is in interviews with his players, it's quite dry. He's quite hard to listen to. He sort of just stares down the interviewer and gives quite a boring answer. I'm like, is this how you talk to your players? Yeah, I'm not sure. And I think if it goes wrong for AZ quite quickly, maybe they don't qualify for Europe, for example, going for the Conference League qualifiers. If it goes wrong in the league at a point, I wonder if he ends up getting the sack. However, AZ do have lots of goals in their team. They can play some good football. Martins is a part of that. He does help them with that side of things. So that might help him. And I think it would be enough to be within that top 6 easily. Your thoughts on AZ? I feel like I love to talk about AZ because I love watching them quite a lot. My favourite Dutch team. So talk down AZ or talk up AZ. Where do you think they'll be this season?
Well, if you take a look at the squad, maybe 4 or 5 players could represent Oranje in the near future, maybe even more. They have so much quality, many great talents in the team. But as you said, the problem is with the coach. And so far, what I've seen so far is not promising at all. Conceding 4 goals from an unknown team from Finland, this is really something big, nobody expected that. I know the team made a comeback and won 5-0 in the home match, but still, because we've seen the team doing the same thing last season in the Eredivisie. They lost unexpectedly in some matches, they dropped many points to the point that they became 4th on the table, not even 3rd. And nothing has changed. The coach is still there. The same talents are there, so I don't think the mentality is going to change. I think the problem with AZ is just the coach, it's not the players. They got Koop Miners, they have Goes, Merdink, who could be the top scorer indeed, Smith, as you mentioned, so many good names.
Aduro's good goalkeeper. You see a couple of the signings on screen there, but none of them jump out of you as like big improvements for starting 11. But I think it's the point you've just made there. They've kept a lot of their best players that they expected they might have gone, but they're not. They're still there.
I wasn't really expecting many signings for AZ. The team is just too complete. I was expecting a different coach. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope that the team will perform better this season, really.
You can see a few of the players that have left the club there as well on screen now. What do you think about Mike?
Like you, I think AZ for me is like the team that I can't wait to watch this season, because of all the young players that they've got, but I don't know what to expect from them. And they're one of these clubs that for the fans, it must be quite frustrating because, they've sold Adai, they've sold Van Bommel, they've sold Wolf, all for big money, but they know that money is not going to get spent on new players. It's going to be kept. And even when I look at the squad, I'm like, do they need new players? Do they need anything? I'm looking at each position and I'm like, well, they've got a great goalkeeper.
Exactly.
Their defence pretty much picks itself. Midfield, okay, maybe Koop Miners isn't as good as his brother, Burmeister, but then they've got Dave Quackman coming back, and I thought he was really good on Groningen last season. So you don't really want to hold him back. And then you've got Smith and Meijens, who'd have managed to keep away from PSV. And then you look at, okay, they've lost Adai, they've lost Van Bommel, they're going to lose
Lacto as
Lado.
well. Yeah,
Lado's going to go. But then they've got Sadiq on the right, Poku on the right, and then on the left, out of nowhere, has come this other new talent in Dahl, who looks electric. So they don't necessarily need a new winger, even though they've lost 2 or 3. And then out front, you've got Parrott, who I'm surprised is still there.
Yeah.
And then you've got Meerdink, who could be the next Netherlands striker if he gets game time and scores the goals. So you're looking at the side and you're like, how do you improve it? But also, they might finish fourth because the manager's not very good. But you can understand why they gave him the job, because he did so well with the youngsters before, and they're thinking, okay, he knows these young players, he's going to bring them through. But yeah, I think that halfway through the season, if they're sitting 8th, 9th again, then yeah, he's going to have to go. And you're going to have to maybe show a bit more ambition, because they've got the players there to really mount a challenge maybe for top 3. But yeah,
can I also say maybe even mount a challenge to win the Conference League? They're that good.
Yes, definitely.
It just needs a bit of ambition, a bit of confidence, a bit of oomph to get them going, get them excited. Because the squad is good now. It's full of young talent. They should be so excited about these players that they have. So yeah, I think that it's going to be hopefully a good season for them.
Yeah.
Maybe we're just too negative about them, but I do think that they could fall foul of the fact that they have Martins as a head coach who just looks lackluster at times. But yeah, we've seen it before where teams will lose. Think back to when Spain won the World Cup, having lost like the first game of the tournament and looking drab. Like, is that the kind of thing we might see with RZ? We'll have to see.
Hope so.
Just talk about a couple more teams before we round off like our predictions of the top 6. FC Twente are famously one of the country's biggest clubs, and they've still going under like a renaissance, I would say, from when they were relegated to the second tier. They've built their way back up. They've built their way back up to the top end of the league as well. Is this a season where they could start to be part of the conversation again for the title, or are they just not good enough for that yet? Their clubs of ambition is to qualify for Europe again. They're not part of it this season. They were in the Europa League groups last season. Joseph Oosting, again, is one of the longest serving managers in the Eredivisie, up with Bosch. Only a couple of years though still, but they've got that kind of consistency about them. They have got an aging Ricky van Wolfswinkel. They've got some players that have come back to the club. Robin Prupper's come back from Rangers. The defence looks solid, but for me, there are doubts about midfield and scoring goals about FC Twente. And I just think that they're not, I don't know, bit of a muchness team, but I think they're better than a lot of the teams in the league, but they're nowhere near as good as probably the 4 teams you said so far in terms of player quality.
Yeah, well, even their best players, even with the squad they have now, which is pretty much the same squad they had last year, I don't think the team is good enough to win or even to be in the top 3. I was hoping to see this squad in the Conference League, actually, because even the Europa League is too good for FC Twente. But I don't expect the team to do much this season. I expect them to be in the top 6 probably, but not in the top 3. Definitely not in the top 3. They are still depending on the same names: Vlap, Wolfswinkel, the aging Wolfswinkel, Rots. Sam Lammers, he did not really do much for the team when they brought him. I'm not really. There is only Lucas Venichor of Hessling. I was hoping that this player, since he is young, he might develop with the team, but not really more than that. I'm not really expecting much from them.
Yeah, I think that probably our biggest signing so far is bringing back Zerouki from Feyenoord. And again, it was so disappointing for them since he signed for them that him going back to 20 shows where his career's gone. It's not really lived up to the expectations. And I think Twente are a team that's not really living up to expectations right now. They're not really challenging for the top 3 like they used to before they obviously had the financial troubles. And yeah, they're just a bit, there's nothing exciting about them for me at the moment. And in fact, it's going to be Van Wolfswinkel up front again, and then relying on hopefully seeing something from Lammers. But you ask fans every year, if we're going to get something special from Lammers this year, and you just don't. The signings for me, they don't excite me. Van den Belt doesn't excite me. Hilson from Ajax.
See, average. I like him, but he's not going to replace the goals of Sem Stein. He's a very different number 10.
No, and even bringing back Robin Prupper, I mean, he had a torrid time in Scotland. I think Rangers fans would have happily, drove him back to Enschede. So yeah, bringing him back, he's obviously great for the Eredivisie, but the Scottish League was maybe a bit too rough and tumble for him. But yeah, I think that this team's 2 or 3 players short of probably challenging for Europe.
Zerouki, they got Zerouki on loan also.
So that's Twente. I mean, Oosting is a pretty good coach. I do like him and think he could still perhaps take a job in the top 3 of the Eredivisie in time. Potentially even a national team coach in time, but he needs to develop more. He needs to try and change his Twente side and make him more exciting in attack, but also defensively solid. What I will say is they will continue to be really good at home. Any home match of Twente against the big teams, I'm sure that'll be a big test. And maybe a shout for the Dutch Cup as well. Might be able to concentrate some time on that if they are in Europe. FC Utrecht, let's talk about them. Finishing really high in the league last season. And they were 4th. And they surprised everyone. We didn't think that they would be able to challenge the way they did. They are having a good start to the season in the Europa League qualifiers. They'll be hopefully within Europe this season. Ron Jans is the head coach. A big fan of his. I think you guys are too. I see you nodding. A big character, fun guy. And they have strengthened actually pretty well over the summer. So this is a really exciting time to be an Utrecht fan. Lots to enjoy. I'll let you guys do the talking, shall I? What do you like about FC Utrecht? Can they do it again?
Ron Jans impressed everybody last season, really. The team was leading the table at some point, I remember. Great performance. The team was doing well as a group. Even the start of this season, to be honest, I was expecting them to struggle against Sheriff. But they did not really. They won away 3-1 and they won in Holland 4-1. It was an easy ride for Utrecht. Hopefully they win the next match against Servette. I think the Swiss team, it's not going to be an easy match, but I do believe that Ron Jans can lead the team to victory. Speaking of the league, I think the competition is going to be stronger this season. We are looking at much stronger Feyenoord, better PSV probably, and maybe better Ajax since they have a coach with an offensive mentality. AZ with many talents. So I believe Utrecht could end 4th or 5th this season in the table. They will be really challenging team. I think every top team in the Eredivisie will struggle against them. The magic word is Ron Jans, really. If the team is going to do well, it's going to be because of him. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, for me, the biggest plus point for them at the moment is the left back, El Karouani. I think he's the main man. Assist king so far this season. I don't know, 3 or 4 of the goals against Sheriff came from his corners. So now he's got a wonder goal himself. So he's a really, really exciting player. I know that PSV wanted him early in the summer window, but he stayed. Looks like he's going to stay for this season. I think that's huge. I think they have strengthened. I think Ezekiel is a very good signing. I think he did well on one at Sparta.
Good defensive midfielder.
Yeah, so I think he does improve their squad. And they've got rid of a few, aging players like, Toornstra's finally gone. Howard's not there anymore. But I think up front, you've got Min, you've got Ohio off the bench. So they've got plenty of firepower. The midfield is good. And you've still got, the leadership of Vierhever at the back. So, I think all over the pitch, Utrecht look good. And, they have the masterman in the dugout in Ron Jans, who continues to surprise us. And, I think he's probably going to go down as, if he does retire after, say, Utrecht, he doesn't get, a big job, he might go down as one of the most underrated head coaches ever in the Eredivisie. And it's a shame what happened to him in America, whatever happened down there. Don't really get to in detail into that, but I think that was a wrong move for him. And I think that he has the potential to be a Netherlands coach, but I don't know if he's ever going to get that opportunity.
On that note, then, we've talked about the top 6 from last season. Let's pull up a top 6 graphic then of who we think will be in the top 6. Like I said, we'll give our whole table a bit later, but here it is. our top sixes this season. So Mike and I have gone with PSV as champions. Abdul has been a bit different and gone with Feyenoord. But equally, we've gone with Feyenoord second. So maybe that is the top two this season. Ajax dropping out of it. We've all gone with Ajax finishing third. All of us gone with RZ finishing fourth. I feel like I have to describe this for the audio listeners, but believe me, they are that similar. Utrecht are all of our fifth place side. And then we've gone a little different on sixth. So I've gone with Twente. Abdul's gone with Twente. Mike, you've gone with Go Ahead Eagles. Now, I'd love to ask you why you've gone with that in just a minute. But with PSV being two of our favourites here, final, do we just think that it's between PSV and Feyenoord? Do you think it'll be neck and neck, or do you think some of the teams could be part of this race? How close do you think it could be?
I mean, very close. I think that between those two, I think that they look to me the most exciting teams, the most strongest teams, and I think that both aren't done in the transfer window yet, especially PSV. I think they're going to add 2 or 3 players. It all depends on what Ajax do. If Ajax, have got a similar squad to what they have now, I don't think they're a part of the equation. I think that they're going to have to really overhaul to get into that top 2. So yeah, for me, I think it's between PSV and Feyenoord. I think it'll be a coin flip between the two of them.
Yeah, it really could be that close. I just don't discount though. An Ajax, RZ, Utrecht, or maybe not Twente, but Ajax, RZ, just from pushing to break into that top 2, top 3, or win the league altogether. Like I'm not saying Utrecht will win the league here. I'm just saying that I'm not discounting it because things like this do happen in football. I know the Dutch league does have it, certainly it's tiered. It's a very, there are definitely some stronger teams and definitely some weak teams, and it's obvious where some teams won't finish. But I do think this top 6 bracket, Mike says, has got Go Ahead Eagles breaking into it. It's just not that cut and dry, and maybe we're just going more with the financial power of clubs. I mean, PSV and Feyenoord have spent well. They're going to be in the top 2. Yeah, we'll have to see. I think it's going to be a really exciting campaign. I can't wait for the stories to emerge that we haven't thought about, haven't said. But let's get on with the rest of the table. Mike, why have you gone with Go Ahead Eagles finishing 6th? They had a brilliant season last season. They've sold a few of their players. Paul Simonis was their manager. He's now gone. We've got Melvin Bull in charge. What's still to like about Go Ahead so much that they finish above Twente?
If you watch them against, I know it's only a one-off game, but I was watching them against PSV and enjoyed watching them. I think they were a very solid unit. Broke out well.
I thought they were great. They had like 20% possession in the entire game though. But their first half, I saw some really good flashes from them.
And I think that what impressed me as well is that they had an interview with the owner before the game. He was talking about their transfer plans for the rest of the window because, they've lost Van Sana and are about to lose Ant-Man in a big money move to Rangers. But he's got, ambitions to strengthen the squad. And a few of the names he was chucking out, Jadon Slory from Feyenoord, who is a winger who did really well at Dordrecht on loan last season, could come in this year. I think Marjorie is a good signing up front for them. I think he did really well at RKSA, even though they struggled last year. I think he was their best player. So I think he's a good addition up front. And they have lost Van Sana and Ant-Man, but I think they've got enough to come in the next weeks to add to an already good squad. And even Broom, he was getting linked to Celtic, but he's staying. So I think that's a big plus for them. I think all over the pitch, they've got exciting, quick players to play on the counter. So if they play that way, control teams, hit them on the break with speed, the addition of Solari in there as well will help that. So I think that it's going to be an effective team in the Eredivisie this season. It might be just digging out wins, but I think underneath Go Ahead Eagles, when we get to it, I think all the teams between 8th and 15th probably could either be okay or a disaster, and I think that Go Ahead Eagles will pick up points against these teams just by being slightly stronger and slightly better squad and with better tactics. And I'm not excited by Twente and what they're doing at the moment, so I think that Go Ahead Eagles will just sneak above them.
I mean, usually each season, Mike, you and I, because we've done Football-Oranje for so many years now, over 10 together, even longer for yourself. A lot of our table predictions do look quite similar, and I can absolutely see why you've gone with Go Ahead in 6th and then continue to push. I think the reservation for me, I'll go a little lower down the table, I will show our full predictions a little later, is I think the Europa League's gonna have an impact here with the squad not being strong enough, deep enough. There will be injuries, and then that's just when I think they'll struggle more. But yeah, they've got a really solid base, like Debussy in goal, Kramer and Nelba being the two centre backs. Matt Styles looking like he's going to stay at right back, the captain. Dean James really effective at left back. He's also pacey like the attackers. Yeah, I love their starting 11. I think they ran PSG really close. I loved their first half against them. Thought they were great. I was really excited about Go Ahead Eagles. But 8 games in the Europa League, maybe they won't go further than that. But let's say they get to the playoffs and they scrape that. That's another 2 games. Yeah. But if they do that, it'd be really pleasing to see Go Ahead breaking the mould, trying to qualify for Europe again, and making a lot of neutral football fans really happy, because I've really enjoyed their rise, and I hope they can keep it up. Jacob Bruin, by the way, if he stays in the 10th position, he could be again a player that will fly if he stays. I even saw a Dutch commentator trying to persuade him the other day. I don't know if anyone saw that. Like, just stay. He was saying to him. That's how I feel about half their squad. Just stay. Just enjoy the Europa League. Yeah. Shame that Oliver Antman left, by the way. Their assist king from last season. Rangers picked him up. But again, a good fee for the club to get. They're not going to turn that down. If they've never really received a fee as high as €6 million before, it's good for the club.
Well, there is also another problem with this season. There is no playoffs for a European spot. That's why I don't think teams like Twente or Utrecht or AZ will leave anything for Go Ahead Eagles, to be honest. And that's why I put them in number 7. Plus, as you said, yes, I think the impact will be big on the team playing in Europe and playing in the Eredivisie. Most players are not used to this kind of pressure, indeed. Yes.
Well, in terms of the surprises of the season, should we each pick out a team that we think might excel in that mid-table, lower table bracket, and maybe surprise us a little? Before we move on to talking about some of the promoted teams. I mean, maybe a team you pick here is a promoted team. But if I could start, the team that I think might be worth keeping an eye on this season, there's a couple of reasons I'll outline. SC Heerenveen. They could be a team that equally they could struggle down the bottom end of the table. But I think in that mid-table mush, I just think Heerenveen might be a team that just push above that with the goals of Dylan Venter, who scored well for Pek Zwolle last season. I'm actually surprised that Hibernian let him go. Maybe they just wanted the money that they knew they could get from Heerenveen. But him, supported by Levi Smans, a good number 10. There was interest from him from the English Championship this summer. But I just think that will help them. They've got some players that they've kept that are experienced. Yeah, I think, Andries Noppert was a one-timer Netherlands goalkeeper. He has got some moments where he absolutely just flops and looks a bit silly nowadays. Just a bit sad. But there's still a good goalkeeper in him. I think Hopland, the centre-back, young player from Norway, could be a potential that could grow this season to a good player. And obviously a player I forgot there was Marcus Linde, a really good Swedish midfielder. I think he's on the thumbnail of this video I made. Someone that I found thinking, wow, he could be another player this season. Heerenveen fans love him and they think he's great. So that's why I think they might be the surprise team. I don't know if either of you guys want to put forward a different team.
I would say Groningen, but don't ask me why. It's just a feeling, really.
Just a feeling.
They might pull a surprise this season and perform well.
Yeah, I had, I've talked about probably the teams that got finished 7th. The team I've got outside that is Heerenveen as well. We've also got the perennial injured Amaricio van Axel Dongen on loan from Ajax. So if he actually manages to actually stay fit to actually play a couple of games, he might be one of the standout youngsters in the league if he shows his potential. But another team, probably NAC Nijmegen. I know it's every year you seem to put them forward, but they've kept Dirk Proper. A few of the older players have gone, and I'm really excited up front about Koki Ogagwa. So I think that NAC have the potential to break out. And yeah, I think that for me, it's weird talking about this now because I think that there's so much movement going to be in the next few weeks of transfer window. And some of these teams are going to be able to pick up some very, very good young talents from the top
definitely.
three. So like Babadi, Land, there's more from Feyenoord, like Slory I mentioned earlier on. There's going to be lots more from Feyenoord going on loan, and probably a few from Ajax. So yeah, like NEC Nijmegen could propel up the table if they got like a Land for their midfield or a Babadi that takes them to the next level. So yeah, right now it'd be Herndon, because I do think the goals of Dylan Vente will, I think that's what they've missed the past few years, is a really good striker, and he seems to be a really good Eredivisie striker after what he did at Pegs Volle.
Striker that scores goals in Eredivisie just propel you up the table, isn't it? If you get 15, 20 goals, then that's a lot of positions you've moved up. For the sake of making sure we talk about each team in the Eredivisie, we'll just talk a little more about Heerenveen and NEC Nijmegen, and then perhaps we'll move on to some of the different teams in the league, come back to Groningen a little later. Heerenveen, they've signed players that have a bit of experience or could be interesting. So Joris van Overheem's come in, who is like old campaigner in the Eredivisie. They've brought in a couple of players as well from the second tier. Rivera is come from the Ligue 2. Again, could be interesting. Zagaritis from Almere City. And they've just made some money as well from some of their outgoings, which was pretty handy for them. Trimmed some of the fat, if you like, by getting some of the players off that weren't that great. I mean, Sabawi wasn't a really good loan from Feyenoord. Nikolescu wasn't a reliable striker. Mats Kurlert finally got his move. Conde wasn't really a good midfielder for their level. Denzel Hall finally leaving to something that's more suitable for him in League One. But I think they'll have a good season, Heerenveen. And as for NEC Nijmegen, they're always a club that I like pushing to be part of the European question. I know you said about Abdul about the playoffs this season. As far as I understand it, that's still a rumor that the league are putting forward. I do believe the playoffs still in place this season for the Europa Conference League spot. We'll have to see how it develops, so that could still change. But I think NEC they're a club that absolutely should be firing for that. My reservations on them are Dick Schroeder's a manager who I'm not that struck by, and a lot of the signings are players in their 30s. Jaron Cherry's like 37, Sillerson's 36. Jetro Willems as well is in his 30s. So for me, they've still got some really good players in like Calvin Verdonk. I can't believe he's still there. Kode Sano, Agawa are good potential players. So they are absolutely a club that could even finish in the top 6. But I just don't think there's enough about them to convince me there. But yeah, any other things you want to bring up about NEC?
I believe they have a bigger chance of being in top 6 than Go Ahead Eagles, but of course it's a matter of an opinion. The team looks stronger. Yeah, the team looks stronger than Go Ahead Eagles this season.
I think they've got a lot of money to spend as well. They've sold Roofs to Sunderland for a big fee.
Yeah.
So hopefully they can use that to strengthen and maybe push out to get a couple of those big loans in. But yeah, I think NEC Nijmegen's one of these ones that's always been on the cusp of doing something, but it's just never had that final extra push. This could be their year. And, you'd like to see somebody like Dirk Proper, who seems to always be the one that's always, he's going to be getting a big move. Maybe this year will be, after coming off that horrible head injury he got at the end of last season, missing the Euros, this might be his year to shine.
Let's move on to some of the promoted teams and some news stories. And Telstar have got to be the team that are on people's minds if they're Dutch football fans as an exciting addition to the league. I do believe they haven't been up since the 70s. I don't know if anyone wants to correct me on that one, but the 1970s is a long time ago. I've never seen it myself. So it's all really exciting. And then you look at the signings, or rather lack of signings this summer, you're like, oh dear, they could be going straight back down. And these could be famous last words here, like, saying that, like, I'm just so convinced that they're going to be bottom of the table and a bit of a whipping boys. But we've seen teams come up to the league before and prove us wrong on this, and they're like, get a bit of a first season bounce. But Koeman, son of Ronald Koeman, I just don't think he's that good as a goalkeeper. Like, he lets things in quite easily. And some of the players are like journeymen that have not really made their way at any other level. But made their way up for the second tier playoffs last season, and very exciting for the club. I mean, that's the positive for them, and I don't think they'll mind too much if they go straight back down.
I think the only thing exciting for the club is being in the Eredivisie. That's the whole thing, you know. I think the players will enjoy that the most. Koeman is 30 years old, the goalkeeper, and he hasn't even made it to a bigger club. So that shows you the quality, really. They have I think Mohamed Hamdawi. He only scored 3 goals out of 27 matches he played last season. That shows you his quality. I think even Ashraf Doiri, I think that's his name, he did not really perform much. He did not really score many goals. I don't think the team, to be honest, I don't think the team belongs to the Eredivisie. But of course, we have to give them the credit for qualifying. I do believe they will be in the bottom of the table, really. I don't think we will see any surprises from this team.
Yeah, I think we said the same when Almere City came up.
I was just about to say that, yeah.
To survive, but I think Almere City at least had a couple of good players in their squad. I just don't see it at Telstar. I mean, I think they did amazingly to get promoted. But yeah, I think their head coach would have been hoping for a few more quality signings rather than 3 players from the amateur league. They could be 3 great players, we don't know. But yeah, I think, you know how in Eredivisie a few years ago, there was always like a team that got beat 9-10-0 by other teams. I think sadly this might be the year that comes back, and you might see an absolute, you know, drubbing if, you know, Telstar go to PSV or Feyenoord and have a nightmare. I hope not. I hope they do their fans proud and stay up. But yeah, just with the squad the way it is now, I can't see anything other than
very unlikely.
Bottom. Yeah.
It's not only that, you've got to finish higher than 3 other clubs. And who are the 3 you're going to put below Telstar if you're going to avoid relegation completely? Yeah, very unlikely. But yeah, let's his story and we'll see how they get on. Maybe the first few games they get a few wins and that helps them come the end of the season. All right, well, let's talk about another promoted team. Let's talk about the Yo-Yo Club, FC Volendam, that do great in the second tier and terribly in the first tier. But the colour's orange and, you know, gotta love a team that's in orange. They've got experience. They've got the likes of Robert Muren, Brani Kuvas, Henk Veerman, but they're all in their 30s, but they'll all be attacking players this season. Aaron Myers has also just come in as well. So they've got that experience, and that maybe is why they've got the edge on Telstar. But the question on Alex is, you know, can they stay up? Will they be in and around that area? Probably, certainly. But will they be able to get out of that? Maybe even surprise a few of us. I'm wondering what your thoughts are really on them.
Volendam is one of the teams that qualifies to the Eredivisie, and a year later they are dropped down again to the second division, and a year after they go back to the, you know, I'm used to that with the Volendam, really. The only thing that looks good for the team is having Telstar, as you said. So it's very, very difficult with the players they have now to be at the bottom of the table. They might survive this season due to the experienced players they have, but I'm not really expecting anything special from them.
Yeah, the fact that it's Henk Veerman and Robert Muren still up front for Volendam is crazy. But you got to look at the hope that they've got is maybe their 2 young centre backs. You know, Mbuyamba still being there. You know, he seems to be linked constantly with a move to a bigger club. He's the captain there, he's the leader. And then he's going to be right next to Precious Uglu, who was a part of the Netherlands under-19 Euro winning squad. And it started all the way through, and threw his toys out the pram, maybe not getting enough chances at Ajax and decided to leave. And here he is at Volendam, and he gets his chance to show that he's good enough, and maybe he will be, maybe he won't be. But if he and Mbuyamba can, you know, form a really strong partnership at the back, then who knows? But yeah, I think there's too many question marks about this side, especially midfield. I don't think they're really strong enough, and I can see them also going yo-yoing back down and being in the bottom 3.
I think they put up a good fight for this season, but yeah, we'll have to see on Volendam. Generally, before we get on to the next promoted team, generally the league does feel stronger this year. And as in like an overview of how the league's getting on, generally like 6th best league in Europe now. The coefficient has stayed that past 2 years. We're hoping to stay 6th again this year, above the likes of Portugal and Belgium in terms of UEFA coefficient. But it's a good indicator where the league sits. You know, it's not a flash in the pan now. This league is stronger than maybe it was when 5-10 years ago. It's down like in 15th place in the rankings. It's come a long way. We don't have a half-baked Ajax winning the league on 60-something points. Actually, the top end of the table, there are clubs that are spending money, which we didn't think Dutch clubs would be able to do 5-10 years ago. We thought it would be like a low-budget league. But no, clubs are spending. You've got mid-table clubs shelling out over €1 million players. That's actually promising. The Go Ahead Eagles can sign a player for €1 million, sell them for a lot more. It still has a reputation of being an exciting league to watch with the goals. For young players, absolutely, it's one of the best leagues to watch for that. I mean, in terms of quality, it's certainly rising up. And what we said already, with the top 6 being really strong, I think the promoted teams are finding it difficult because they don't have the finances to keep up with what the rest of the Eredivisie is doing. Don't get me wrong, there are still clubs that can't use transfer fees to buy players, and they're having to use frees, and there'll be loan transfers, I'm sure, coming up before the end of August. But yeah, I think for me, it's definitely improved. Players are still staying as they get a little older into their career. Sem Stein staying in the league, you could argue, is he good enough to play in a Premier League team, or is it that maybe Feyenoord is a good place to stay in the Netherlands and do well there? It's an interesting conversation that maybe we could talk about even longer another day. But for me, again, the Eredivisie is still growing as a league. Don't know how much more it can grow without significant investment from elsewhere, but it's doing well with what it has.
Yes. 10 years ago, we were the 15th actually, and the UEFA coefficient. Indeed, I remember also one of the seasons, some Dutch club lost to a team from Luxembourg. It was, I think, AZ, or I don't really remember.
I remember some of those are really embarrassing.
Yeah, it was really embarrassing. And for one season, I think it was 2016, if I'm not mistaken, or 2017, we only got 2 points, 2.5 points in the coefficient. It was a disaster. But nowadays, we've seen how the Dutch teams are. We've seen 2 clubs last season were in the round of 16, something not many people expected to see, really. I hope we see something like that again this season. Yep, you're right.
Just before we go on to the next team, like I said, which team do you think will go the furthest in European competition this season? And which team do you think will do the worst?
Feyenoord. I think Feyenoord will have the best campaign in Europe, in my opinion. And then AZ probably. AZ does have the quality. The competition is not very strong. So I think it's Feyenoord, then AZ. The worst, probably Go Ahead Eagles. I'm not really expecting much from them. I hope I'm wrong, but yeah.
Yeah, I think Feyenoord have got a difficult draw for the Champions League. I think that it's going to be hard for them to get past. Fenerbahce, I can see them getting through, but then Benfica, that's tough. So yeah, I think probably Feyenoord, if they get into Europa League, go far in that competition, especially as they can go far in the Conference League. Yeah, I think that those two, and then Go Ahead Eagles, probably Utrecht. Ajax will probably be, if Ajax don't improve, then they could be whipping boys in the Champions League.
Yeah, so I think the worst team will be Ajax. Don't think they'll get many wins at all in the Champions League, unfortunately. PSV might do right. They might get some wins there, like last season. They were a good watch. Yeah, final get to the Europa League. They could be good. I think though the best for me will be RZ in the Conference League. I'm still going to stick my neck out and say that they get quite far in that competition. Equally, they could lose in the qualifiers. From what we've seen already in pre-season, that could be one way or the other. It feels like it'll go really well, really badly. But I think that they will grow throughout the season with the players they have, and hopefully the manager can prove me wrong on that. Back to promoted teams. Go on.
How about Utrecht? Because all the good things we said about them, they all might go away if they lose next match against Servette, because they will have a very tough competition in the conference. Yeah.
Yeah, without going into the ins and outs of all the qualifiers to European competition, Utrecht essentially could still be knocked out of Europe, or they could end up in the Europa League or the Conference League. But I think with the draw they have, they will make it to the Europa League, and they'll find it a bit more difficult there. It would have been nice if they went into the Conference League, and they could, farm some points there, some wins. I think Go Ahead will get a win or two in the Europa League. They'll just enjoy being there.
I hope so.
Yeah. Utrecht could be strong, though. They could have a nice campaign. It's really exciting that we could be seeing all 6 Dutch teams qualify for European competition. I actually can't recall the last time we had all 6 in the groups or league phase of a competition. Perhaps we could do some digging on that one.
It's the season
when
Dutch football. It's the season when Feyenoord reached the Conference League final. All Dutch clubs were there, actually.
I think that was only 5 at the time.
Yeah, the 5 of them were there.
Yeah.
The season where Vitesse played in the Europa League. Poor Vitesse.
It was in the Conference League, wasn't it? Got against Roma. Oh, I keep saying we'll talk about Excelsior. I'm sure all of the Excelsior fans that are listening, I can't wait to come on, get onto it. No. But Vitesse Arnhem, an absolute, staple of the Eredivisie, that club. Really strange for a club in Arnhem not to be in the top league, let alone, the second league at the moment, where it's looking like they're not going to get a professional license. So what does the future hold for Vitesse Arnhem? Does that mean they're just not going to exist anymore? What's going to happen?
I think what you'll see...
Yeah, go ahead, Mike. It's okay.
I think you'll see that if they don't get a professional license, they'll have to start again in lower leagues.
But we know that it's not hard. It's impossible to bridge that gap, isn't it, from unprofessional football to professional football, because the trapdoor is not open anymore.
So you'd have
second and third league. Sorry,
you'd have to see them make an exception. I've already seen that they've said that it's impossible for them to add another team this season to the second division, so it wouldn't be a full league if Vitesse didn't play in it. I think they would add them to like the amateur leagues, and they'd have to make an exception for them, because there's been talk for years of if Feyenoord got to the top level of the amateur game, if they won it, then they could go up to second division. It's a weird structure in the Netherlands where there's all these teams that don't want to be professional, and they're happy in their little amateur leagues. Whereas there's some that want to be professional, so it's tough. But you see what happens. It happened with Achilles when they came up from the amateurs, and they were in the second division for a few years, and then they went bust. And I think you only have to look at what's happening in England with, Morecambe and Sheffield Wednesday, and then you got Vitesse. I think outside of the big leagues, I think there's going to be a lot more of this, where clubs just can't afford to do what they've been doing for years, and they are going to go bust. And unless you've got wealthy, rich owners who are willing to just, sink money into a club, it's going to happen. And I think sadly, Vitesse have paid the price for really poor ownership, going back to the days of when they were Chelsea's feeder club. I mean, they didn't have an eye on their future. They just had an eye on, okay, we'll just take all Chelsea's youngsters and then that'll do us. And they got Europe for a few years, but look at them now. They're going to cease from existence. It's because they didn't future plan. And I think we're going to see that a lot more in the years to come, sadly. I think there's going to be a few clubs that probably go to the wayside.
Yeah, really sad story. All the best to Vitesse. Hopefully they make a comeback. I'm sure lots of old players, they said all the best to the club. We look forward to seeing them get back to where they belong. So hopefully there's a future for that club still. Excelsior Rotterdam were the third promoted team from last season. And they had a hit in the transfer market, losing Dalverstein to Sparta Rotterdam. Big loss for Excelsior, big gain for Sparta, making the short journey across Rotterdam to sign for a new club. But they've got a few new signings in there, unlike the other two promoted teams. Stein van Gassel's come back as a good goalkeeper. They made a signing from of a midfielder from Sweden. So their scouting's there. They are trying. Excelsior are famously a very tiny club. Stadium's very, very small. No doubt, the smallest in the Eredivisie again this season. Now they're back in the league. So what do we think about them? Do they have potential? Again, like I said already, to stay up in the league. I think that they're the strongest promoted team that come up.
They will be in the bottom three. I expected, or my projection was for them to be in the bottom three, Telstar, and then Volendam, and then Excelsior. Again, Excelsior is one of the teams that always qualify to the Eredivisie, and then they again relegate to the second division, and then they come back to the Eredivisie. So I think it's going to be in the bottom three. I don't really see anything special from the team. Oh, I forgot to mention also they got Lewis Schouten on loan from AZ. I think he's a player who played for Oranje under 19 in 2022, 3 years ago or 2 years and a half ago. But other than that, I'm not really expecting much from Excelsior. And as you said, yes, the stadium is very small. The team is very small. So 4,000 fans only in that stadium. I don't think they can even make the atmosphere that can cause trouble to any opponent, you know?
Yeah, I think out of all the teams that come up, Excelsior, they've got the best chance of staying up. And it's because they've got some good players in there, you know, Pierre, old Ajax, centre-back has been at Excelsior for years. Vormerdam's been in Eredivisie for years. And then they've got some young talents, you know, Jan Direct coming in from Vitesse is a decent player. Nestor Gruen, who, you know, for years has been with Feyenoord's under-21s and scoring goals. And even from their own academy, they've got a young striker who a lot of people are excited about in the Netherlands, and that's Geraldino Berggraaf. He's just turned 19. I've seen him, when you're talking about, you know, wonder kids in the lower leagues, I've seen a lot of people mention him as being a possibility. So they do have some good young players mixed with some Eredivisie experience. So yeah, I think that there's a possibility for them to stay up. I think if any of the bottom three is going to stay up, it's going to be them. So yeah, I'm excited to watch them if they give these young players a chance. But they could also be another team that goes straight back down. They came up, you know, Hattenborough was a big player for them last season, who got his move to Anderlecht, so they've lost him. So it could be difficult for them, especially if there was Divenstein as well. He's gone to Sparta. Sparta. Yeah, Sparta.
Yeah. Should we do the opposite of earlier? We picked a team that we think could gate crash, like, you know, the top six, do well this season. What about a team from the Eredivisie mid-table bunch that maybe might disappoint this season? If we pick one team each, we'll talk about each team as well. Mike, would you like to start with a team you think might be a bit drab this season?
Heracles Almelo. I think.
Let's talk about them first.
They're always thereabouts. I think people like them because they've got, you know, Hornkamp up front. You can score a goal in the Eredivisie.
Well, because of his name or because of his striker?
He always gets a laugh because of his name. But yeah, I think that if, say, he got injured for any point this season, I don't think they've got enough quality around the squad. I think they're weakened this summer. They're really impressed with any of their ins and outs. You know, Benita did well on loan for them. He's been made him permanent. But if you look down there, I don't see anyone there that really, really makes them stronger. You know, Heuristic's coming back to the Eredivisie. Mike de Verck back in the Eredivisie. Yeah, there's not really anything there that I'm screaming out, oh, he's going to be an excellent signing. Yeah, they just don't excite me. I think that they could be one of these teams that might drop into the bottom three mix if the results go against them and they get a few injuries.
I think that they've still got a bit of quality there. I mean, Fabian de Keyser is a decent keeper for this level. Brian Lindblom, if you can get the good things out of him on the wing, he could do well. Sam Burek is a good midfielder. Hornkamp, of course, with the goals up top. Hrustic as well might bring back some quality to the side. Kalenovic. But yeah, I understand what you're saying. It's not reliable quality other than maybe Hornkamp. And if he's injured, then they are going to struggle. What about you, Abdul? What do you think about Heracles?
I'm not expecting much from them, really.
No.
I was ready to talk about another team since you said every one of us. Yeah. I was actually going to talk about Sparta Rotterdam.
Sure, let's talk about Sparta, yeah.
Yeah, it's the only middle team that I think they can cause trouble to some opponents, really. They have the same coach, Stein. I know he had the disaster season with Ajax, but with Sparta Rotterdam, he's doing well. The team has many experienced players. They have Van Aanholt. Many players don't know where he is now, but he is in Sparta Rotterdam. D. Guzman, actually, he's 37 years old now, and he still plays there. They got, of course, Eiting from Twente on loan. They have, of course, Ayub Aufkir. We saw how great this player is in the young Oranje. He was a big star in the Euros for the young Oranje. So they do have some names that could actually cause some trouble. I expect Sparta Rotterdam to be the best team in the middle teams in the middle table.
Oh, I thought we were picking one of the worst teams. But you like Sparta?
Sorry?
I like Sparta too. I thought you were picking a team that was going to struggle.
Oh, you want me to pick a team that would struggle?
Well, we were at Sparta Rotterdam now. Let's talk about Sparta. I've actually got them finishing quite high up, like top half, because of the reasons you outlined. Like they've got some good players, experiences in there too. Martin Zindi, Toornstra, Joel Drummond to a certain extent, but like other than that, they've been able to just kind of fill some gaps, and like getting Torresson in, who's the youngest Icelandic striker. He could be the replacement for Lauritsen, should he eventually go. They still got players in the hanging on to that they had, years ago. Yeah, Lauritsen, Kitolano. I just think there's enough quality there. Maurice Stein for Sparta Rotterdam is a good manager. Their outgoings here aren't too bad. Yeah, I think they'll have a good campaign, but equally, I don't think I don't think they're one of the teams that would finish in the top 7, for example. What do you think?
Oh, no, they won't. Yeah, they won't be in the top 7. I think they will be in the top 10, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think they've done well to bring in the experienced players, having Toornstra, Martin Zindi. I struggle to say that Drum was a good goalkeeper. I think he's got a clanger in him. So
I agree, to be honest.
Lauritsen's still up front. They've got a good core. And the fact that the reason I'd watch Sparta this season is to see what Ufkir can do. They cannot hold him back. I'll be really annoyed if we come to the next summer and Ufkir has just been a bench player all year because Morstein won't play him. I think if Sparta Rotterdam are sensible and they know what they've got, they'll give him as much minutes as they can and make as much money as they can from him before.
He's an example, isn't he, of a Dutch player coming through that's going to hopefully take this league by storm this season and be a player that we're talking about a lot.
Because he got chances last season. He was off the bench a few times, got a few assists. So they're bleeding him in already last season. He's had an amazing under-19 Euros. It started off and he did okay at the end. But this could be his season just to prove himself as that top-tier talent that we think he's going to be, and then get a big move next summer. I think it'd be mad for Sparta not to play him and try and maximise the fee that they can get from next summer.
Okay. I'll move on to a team that I think will struggle this season. I think it's Nat Breda. I really hope I'm wrong. I've still got an old programme from Nat Breda in the background there, one of the many Dutch football items that are there. Mm-hmm. For me, I love the club. Great stadium, great fans. The fans were impressing the Norwich City fans the other day in their pre-season friendly. But they were 2 down within 11 minutes in that friendly. And I looked at the players that have come in and those that have left, and I was like, they've definitely downgraded here, in my opinion. I'll put on the screen their transfers. So incomings, Brim from Alma City, doesn't really score many goals, and he's a striker. Hillen's come in from Dekarskat, but he's again second-tier centre-back. Mohamed Nasso's been bought in from Sparta Rotterdam. I don't think he's that great. Simano, there's a striker come in. He could be good. He could be pants. I don't know. Talvitsi, he's a good winger, good skills, but I also don't know how many games full of goals, right? I don't know how many goal contributions he's going to get, as skillful as he is. Then you got your outgoings. And for me, the alarm bells are going here when they've sold their captain, Jan van den Berg. Matt Garbett has gone from midfield. Janus has gone from their midfields. Leo Sauer, who was good on the wing last season, has also gone. So they've downgraded, and they only just stayed at last season. They had a terrible second half of the campaign where they didn't really win many games at all. So I can't see where their wins are coming from, and I just think they're gonna get relegated. But I hope I'm wrong.
I still think they are stronger than the bottom three teams that I expected. Telstar, Excelsior, and Volendam. They will struggle, but I think they will survive. Knock Breda.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for them. I think that I thought they would struggle last season, and I wasn't surprised that they actually stayed up because I thought they were going to go straight back down. But that was mainly because of the players that are now no longer at the club. I think Omarsson as well was a great sign for them last season. They're going to be relying on Sidney van Hooijdonk this year to get their goals. So I think if he can do it, then maybe they can stay up. But it's between him and Burm to score the goals to keep them up. And then even at the back, you've got Terence Congolo. Once Netherlands international Terence Congolo is still there. So yeah, I think they've got some good players, but whether it's enough to keep them up, who knows? Clint Leemans is always good for a free kick goal. So if you win 1-0 with him scoring a free kick, but yeah, I think they'll just have enough to stay up for me.
Yeah, they play the back five. They've got good home fans that they might edge a few get draws or wins there. So that could be how they stay up, or at least that has how they have to stay up. But for me, I don't see it happening that often this season. But I guess you guys have got them staying up. We can reveal our full table predictions perhaps in just a minute. By my records here, we've got 3 teams to talk about left, like mid-table clubs, and I'm going to make a point of talking about Fortuna Sittard next because I'm pretty sure they were the last team we talked about last season. I don't think they're a boring club. I actually quite like Fortuna when they first got promoted to the Eredivisie. Well, not for the first time ever, but when they got re-promoted, if you like, after a long time back to the Eredivisie. We had great fun with them. We had likes of George Cox playing there, English player. We had their owner listening to our podcast. He might still be, I don't know. But in terms of this summer, not really much to report other than Danny Bowles is still their manager. Again, talk about long-serving manager. I think he is the longest, 2 and a bit years. They've signed Ivan Marquez, good centre-back, sort of solid, and maybe a couple of their transfers could surprise. Put them on screen now, shall I? But I don't think that they will excite or get relegated because Bowles is their manager, where they will just be they'll have a lot of games that are 1-2-1, 1-0, 2-1. They might lose 1-0, 1-2-1. They'll run for Ajax close at home, but I think it should be another season just like the last one.
Yeah, if you look at the squad, you've actually got some good players in there. You've still got Holovic is there. If they can manage,
he's expected to go there, as far as I know.
Yeah, and the rumor is that if he goes, it'll be Ihataren who comes in. So
right,
that'd be interesting. And yeah, you've still got Kais here who's up front. If he can stay fit,
he's good, isn't he?
At the back, you've got Dykes, you've got Daley Sinkgraven who joined them last season only to get injured straight away and then missed the rest of the campaign. So I do think there's enough there to be good, and I think they'll be where they've been in the past couple of years, around the 10th, 11th mark. But yeah, if they lose Holovic, then he was basically their main man last year, scoring the goals, getting the assists. If they have to replace that with Ihataren, then that could go either way. It could be great or an absolute disaster.
Okay. They should talk about a couple more of the teams. We've got 2 left. We've got FC Groningen earlier. Abdul, you said they might do well. It's like your gut feeling. Talk to me some more about Groningen then. I mean, you said it was off instinct, so I'm guessing you're not going to give us a deep analysis on the club right now, but go for it.
Well, I've seen Groningen in many seasons. They surprise you in some seasons with very good performance, and with some other seasons, no. Somehow I'm expecting the season for this team to be kind of challenging to the big names. As I said, I don't really have a certain reason. I'm looking at the squad. There is really nothing special in the team. But it's just a feeling. I believe the Groningen is going to be challenging to the top teams in the table. And I think they will be maybe, I would say also in the top 10, Groningen and Sparta Rotterdam, they will be in the top 10.
And some things to like about him, Dick Lekeen's their manager, who is one of the more favourable managers in the league. They have got Tom van Berken, who was a part of the Young Oranje sides. Yunus Taha has got good potential on loan from Twente. Zawada scored some goals at RKC Waalwijk. They brought him in. Steyr Razink is still at the club. He's their captain, good midfielder. But yeah, I mean, they shifted Leandro Bacuna, who's probably aging now. Some other outgoings there. But I don't think they're missing lots other than perhaps Valenta, who, of course, has gone to big when he moves to finals. What are your thoughts on it, Mike?
I think they get also Yunus Taha, right? On loan.
Yeah, just saying that, yeah.
Yeah.
For me, if you watch the X Twitter when Luciano Valenta was getting linked with Feyenoord, a lot of the Groningen fans were saying that, well, that's fine, he can go because the best midfielder is Rezink, and yeah, he's only 22. Excellent midfielder. I think that keeping him out of the big clubs' reach is great for them. I think Schroeder started the season on fire last year, sort of went down after that, but he's still young. Another young talent, and Blockzeal as well, another very young talent who many would say cost Ajax the title last year by scoring that goal for running late on. But yeah, I think they've got a mix of good talents and experienced players. I think Zawada's going to be a good signing for them. And I think Tom van Bergen, if he can improve, I think at Young Oranje, he showed that he's got capabilities, but now he has to have a year where he's scoring goals because he's not doing that yet. He's not scoring the goals to really take him to that next level. And that's the reason why he's not got moved, because I think he got interviewed recently being like, oh, why have you not moved this summer? It's because no one's interested, because he's a striker who can hold the ball up well, but he's not shown that he's a striker that can score goals yet. And that needs to be his priority this season, to be the main man up front.
So last but not least, Pek Zwolle, who for me haven't got a striker, really. Koen Kostens, and never really heard of him. Don't know how good he is, but he's there. The manager's Henry van der Vecht, and even me as a big Dutch football fan, obsessed in the Eredivisie, I haven't really heard of him before, if I'm honest. So
he's a Zwolle legend, by the way. He played more than 100.
So I should shut up.
Yeah. He played approximately. He played more than 100 matches for Zwolle. They consider him a legend, actually. He's the only one who could make a difference. But as you said, I'm sorry to interrupt you. The squad looks also pretty much. I'm not really expecting much from the team. They will probably be in the 14th or the 15th in the table. That's how I think.
Yeah, but they made one good signing, and that's Thijs Oosting on loan.
Yeah.
That's, for me, that's really it. If you look at the squad, they've got decent players in there. Schendar is a decent goalkeeper. Floranus has been around the Eredivisie for long. Odysseus Floranus is always good for a goal. But I think last season they stayed up pretty much on the fact that they had Vente up front and David van den Berg scored quite a lot of goals in the field. And both of them are gone. So, yeah, I think it could be a struggle this year without them two. And, yeah, mid-table mediocrity, I think. Them maybe flirting with a bit of relegation.
So without further ado, we've gone through every single club in the league. Let's get up our big table predictions for this season. And, of course, if you want to have a go as well, then do so. Let us know on social media or on the comments on YouTube. So here they are. Well, if your audio listeners, I'll describe some of these, but you can always check them out on Twitter if you can't see it on YouTube. We've all gone with Telstar finishing bottom. I've gone with NAC finishing 17th, but you two have gone with Volendam and Excelsior finishing your bottom two off. I have Volendam also a bottom three. I've gone with Excelsior just surviving. But equally, you two going with the three promoted teams as your three bottom teams. I was thinking exactly the same. I almost did the same thing and then looked a bit more into NAC Breda and thought maybe they could be in trouble. But it's a similar pattern, though. I mean, on average, you've got bottom half teams. Pek Zwolle are down there for us three. NAC are down there. Heracles are down there in the bottom six. More mid-table teams. Fortuna are like our staple mid-table team, aren't they? Yeah, I don't think there were too many surprises, but then you look a bit higher up and your playoff teams this season. So if a Dutch Cup is won by one of the top sides in the league, then the playoffs go between the teams in 6th and 7th, 8th, and 9th. So we've got Heerenveen, all three of us got Heerenveen there. Go Ahead Eagles are in there for the first three. But after that, NEC could be up there, Sparta. Anything that you guys want to pick out about my table to go, I can't believe you've done that?
Oh, well, it's not really that much different from Mike.
No.
The top 5 are exactly the same. You just disagree with him on the 6th. You think it's Twente, and he thinks it's Go Ahead Eagles. I think Twente will be 6 on the table. That's of course my opinion. Other than that, yeah, we pretty much don't agree on the most, teams on the bottom. But the top 6 or the top 7, I kind of agree. Yeah, it does make sense in my opinion. Yep.
I do think that the next 4 weeks in the transfer window are going to be very, very busy for the teams outside the top 4. I think if, obviously the season's going to be started by then, but I think if it got to September 1st or whenever the transfer window shuts, and you ask me again what the table is going to look like, it might be totally different depending on who signs who and who gets some reinforcements, because I do think there'll be a lot of clubs that are bringing in 3, 4, 5 players in the next few weeks. Who knows? Telstar might change their opinion by bringing in 4 or 5 players in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of big loan moves, a lot of big signings for some clubs, and that could catapult somebody like Heerenveen from like an 8th to challenging for 5th, depending on who they can sign in the next 4 weeks. Whereas Ajax could also go on a run and sign 2, 3 players, and they could be even more of a pick to win the title. So yeah, I think a lot is going to change and before the transfer window shuts. So it's hard to do these predictions and get them right, but I think we're all pretty similar in our feelings.
Yeah. I'm just concerned about Ajax, really. Nothing special about them so far. I don't know what they are waiting for, really. So many players need to leave the team. That's my main concern. I'm afraid they will be humiliated in the Champions League. I know they will buy some players, but as we said, they need to sell some as well. And they haven't sold any to buy new players. And the clock is ticking. That's what worries me, really.
Yeah. Generally, the league is relatively predictable with the sides that, with bigger budgets are going to finish higher. The ones with lower budgets are going to be struggling. Telstar coming into the league with a quarter of the budget of the next smallest is incredible. And even if they just don't finish the bottom, they finish 17th, still get relegated. It's still an achievement they managed to do that. It will be impressive. I think that there will be a shock or two, like I say, in the transfer market. You guys said that. And there'll be a shock in that a team that will stay up or go down, or perhaps go into the European equation. Maybe a new manager, Dutch manager, can surprise us, and that leads us to a future national team coach. Maybe we get a surprise with that. There's lots of things that we can be really excited about. And of course, at the end of this season, there'll be the World Cup as well, which we hope the Netherlands will be partaking in. So I'm really excited for the next 12 months or so of Dutch football.
Yes, this season is the most important season, since it's going to be right before the World Cup. So all the stars, I really hope all the stars will be at their best level. I really hope the selection for the World Cup will be very challenging for Koeman. Every time I take a look at the 2022 squad and see how terrible it was, and see the name of players we have nowadays, I feel we are so lucky now. So much quality. I think Koeman will be challenged. Who to pick really in all positions. So every player has to show his best this season. Of course, we talked only about the Eredivisie. If we think about also the other leagues, as I mentioned on Twitter, maybe England only has 36 Dutch players. So imagine how many players Koeman have to go through to pick the best 23 out of in all the leagues.
How about top goal scorer in the league? It's one of the final topics of today. I think the obvious picks might be a Pepe from PSV or a player from PSV, but for me, those two might cancel each other out if they don't get enough games. But I think they'll both be up there. Sem Stein over at Feyenoord could be again another shoe-in for
Meerdink.
one of the top scorers. Max Meerdink, RZ for sure. I hope he is, because that means really promising things for the national team.
Yes.
But something tells me we'll still see lots of Troy Parrott as the main striker there at RZ. So he could be one of the options too for that. Yeah, any other names you want to throw into the ring? Dylan Venter at Head and Vane?
Well, sorry, Mike. I was actually expecting one of the three you mentioned. Pepe or Stein or Meerdink. One of them is going to be the top scorer of the league.
Yeah, I think Pepe is going to be the top scorer, but I think a dark horse is Ogawa. I think if NSA Nijmegen are going to win games, he's going to be the one that scores the goals. So I can see him ending up with a 15, 16 goal season. And then the way that the past few years have gone, you don't have an Eredivisie striker getting 30, 40 goals a season recently. It's been quite close. That's why Xavi Simons was top goal scorer a few years ago. So yeah, it could be another close one. As you say, like Pepe and Plea, if they switch about, then they might limit the amount of goals they score. Same with Parrott and Meerdink. Weghorst, I don't think he's going to score an absolute ton this season. So yeah, I think it's between, David Min maybe could do some for Utrecht. But yeah, I think the Pepe, Vente, Ogawa might be the dark horses.
Another one, young players you're absolutely going to be keeping your eye. Maybe someone you haven't mentioned already. For me, a big one could be Adrian Blake at Utrecht. There's an interview with him over on our YouTube channel, which you can check out. I think he's in for a good season with Utrecht. He'll be hopefully more of a starter this season. English winger coming through. So any English football fans that might be checking this out might be interested in seeing him play. Yeah, I'm a big fan of his. I think he's improving a lot.
I would say, I'm sorry again, Mike. Sorry. Yeah, we're just so excited about the younger players that are the top scorers.
It's the Eredivisie after all.
Yeah. I'm expecting a lot from Reed. Really, I've always believed in this player. I think he will prove himself to be in Oranje as well. He might be even selected for the next World Cup. I'm expecting a lot from him. Smith as well, and of course,
absolutely. But he talked about him today, did we?
Yeah, we did not mention him that much, but I think he will be one of the stars, and I'm expecting a lot from him, really. So these two probably, yeah.
Yeah, I can't really look past Smith being. For me, he's going to be like the superstar of the season. That's how high I've got him in regard. I think like him being so far above everyone else, young talent wise, him and Reed.
100% same, yeah.
If Smith isn't like top young player by the end of the season, something's gone wrong. And we're probably going to blame Martin Martins for playing him out of position and playing Meijens as a 10 and Meerdink and Smith as like an 8 or something like that. But yeah, I think in terms of ones to look out for, Van Axel Dongen for me is the one at Heerenveen. If Jaden Sorry goes for Go Ahead Eagles, watch him. And another one at AZ is Dal, because he looks absolutely electric on that left wing. And
he had a good season in the second tier, didn't he? So now it's time for a first team run.
Yeah, so when's the last time everyone's had that winger who is just blistering pace that could just rip past people? And maybe Dal could be that one that is the Netherlands dribbler. And imagine that with Dal, Smith dribbling past folk in the Netherlands national team. It's something that we've not seen for years. So yeah, there might be some exciting times for the Dutch attack coming. So them two, I think other than that, Meerdink would be one. I know he's like 22, 23, but if he can just get ahead of Troy Parrott, I'd be even open to AZ selling Parrott, just so Meerdink can get that game time and really push forward to be a challenger for Netherlands. And going away from, because we don't want to mention just Dutch youngsters, I think Mokio at Ajax, obviously he's top tier talent at the age he is. So yeah, he's an exciting midfielder for them.
I would also add Sliti. He could be the third player. I'm really looking forward to watch him playing. He was impressive last season. He's only 19 years old. So I'm gonna watch him closely. I really hope he performs as good as he did last season. Yeah, these are my three players.
Right. Well, I think that's plenty of Eredivisie chatted about today, and I hope people really enjoyed listening to our preview of it as well. We love talking about the league and giving people like a first taste of the league if they haven't already, or if you've been tuning into this podcast for many years. And I hope you've enjoyed hearing another season of Eredivisie Chit Chat. We will do more podcasts, of course, in Eredivisie throughout the season. So if you are new, don't worry, this is not a one-off. We'll do some more.
But Michael, sorry,
Yeah.
You did not tell us what players are you gonna watch, or you expect much from them.
Adrian Baker was my pick out, but I think Kay Smith will be certainly one to look at. Mex Meerdink as well. I'm really excited to see, but they're all kind of names we said several times. So I'll just give another shout out for Ufke at Sparta. I think I'll go one way or the other. I think he won't play at all really, or he'll break out. I think it'd be fantastic. Hopefully the latter. So only one more thing to me to sort of shout out and plug on this podcast. And that is, if you would like to support the Football-Oranje podcast, how can you do that? You may have heard that we've got Football-Oranje scarves. You can see 2 in the background here. And Abdul just got himself one. And there's one in the post for Mike now too. So it's Hey. So you can get yourself a Football-Oranje scarf. We'll leave the link in the description for you to get yourself one.
I got mine finally. It's really nice, great quality. I was really happy when I received it. I encourage every fan of Oranje to get it. It is really something special. I love the quality. I love what's written on it, really. Football-Oranje, and of course, number 1 football fan. It's number 1 Dutch football fan. It's amazing, really. If I attend any match for Oranje, I'm going to wear this.
I know, same here. But it's also need Dutch league fans as well, Eredivisie fans. It ticks that box for you as well, being a Dutch football fan, donning the colours of Dutch football, orange and black. Also the colours of Football-Oranje. So, get yourself one if you want to support Football-Oranje. I mean, I won't lie, they're not that cheap, but also we have to have a way of trying to raise money whilst also keeping the podcast free. I mean, what we do, we have to kind of pay for bits. So that's why we charge for scarves, but hopefully a nice thing that you get your hands on and really enjoy having one of these. It's been nice to see pictures of people that have got one of these scarves. So sorry if I keep repeating myself about the scarves, but if you don't check out these Netherlands podcasts, you might only be hearing that for the first time, or you might be a new fan and you don't know that they exist. So if you would like one, get yourself a Football-Oranje scarf, and thank you very much for supporting us. If you can't afford a scarf, just give us a like, subscribe, comment, and do it in that way instead, and let us know what you thought about the podcast. Thank you very much for checking this out anyway. I hope you enjoyed, like I said, and here's to a really fun season. Anything else, Abdul, Mike, you want to finish with?
Well, I'm expecting a lot this season. I'm expecting a lot from some teams in the Champions League. I'm expecting Feyenoord to do well in Europe. I really hope we see many talents. We already have many talents in the Eredivisie. I hope we see more surprising players coming up. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an exciting season ahead. I mean, when was the last time you had so many Dutch players playing in the Premier League? When was the last time we went an Eredivisie season, talking about the main youngsters looking forward to being attackers? I mean, we could actually have a striker this year if Meerdink, does the business. And, Keith Smith looks like the second coming of a young Wesley Sneijder or something like that. So, yeah, it's exciting times. And it's always that buzz when you come to a new start of season. And, yeah, it's just we're so close to beginning. We hope it's going to be a really exciting, fun campaign. Very close title race, very close to the bottom as usually has loads of goals. And yeah, let's hope that all the Dutch players excel this year. They stay fit ahead of a World Cup. And, Ronald Koeman comes to senses and picks the players based on form rather than reputation.
Yeah.
Okay, much more from us soon. Of course, giving a shout out that we have a YouTube channel you can check out, a website that is full of updates. Mike will be doing lots of articles throughout the season on match reports in the league, more transfers throughout the summer. We have a Twitter page, X page, and Football-Oranje. Find us Football-Oranje_, where we'll again have lots of updates daily throughout the season. So lots more content to check out other than this podcast. We hope you can find us. Bye everyone for now. See ya.
Bye-bye.
See you guys.